Love requires courage. I learned that from a coaster. Years ago, a friend gave me a set of coasters with meaningful sayings. One read, "Love like you'll never get hurt." I didn't really understand those words until I met Adele and realized that falling in love and jumping into love are two completely different things. This is Reframing Life, stories of love, loss, and what it means to be human. I'm Kent. In this 20-part series, My Soulmate Named Adele, I'm sharing the true story of how we found each other, what it meant to love like that, and what it means to keep living after she's gone. In episode 2, we sat at Starbucks table where Adele reached for my hands and I pulled away. In this episode, Falling in Love versus Jumping, we'll explore what happens when one person is ready to fall and the other is too afraid to jump. You'll meet the coaster that changed everything. Hear Adele admit she was waiting for the other shoe to drop, and see why I promised to rip down the wall around her heart, 3 bricks at a time. From the beginning, Adele and I knew we were soulmates. There was no other explanation for our connection. But we also had kids to care for, jobs, households, histories. Adele's last relationship had ended only 6 months earlier. I was 4.5 years out after spending a long time gluing my spirit back together. We know what we didn't want to repeat, and we had a pretty good sense of what we each wanted instead. We were realistic enough to know it would take work, and at the same time, we just wanted to run away and melt into each other during that honeymoon phase. Hollywood is really good at showing that part. The strangers who meet and fall madly, deeply in love. That's the climax of the movie. What they don't show is what happens after the credits. Meeting your soulmate gives you a very strong foundation, but it's only the beginning. The connection is a reason why you want to do the work, because you so badly want to keep the feeling alive. Most of the work actually happens after you've connected. And a lot of it is not romantic comedy material. It's more like a political thriller where 2 countries are in tense negotiations, with some really lovely dinners and parties thrown in between bargaining sessions. As you listen, I'm curious, do the movies make love look easy? Or like it's almost impossible? Where does your real life sit compared to those stories? Early in our relationship, Adele started testing me. She tested my words, my actions, my consistency, and I was aware of it and okay with it. We'd both been through enough to know the other had every right to kick the tires. One of the first times stands out. I arrived at Adele's place one Friday evening with my 2 sons, ready for the weekend. Within minutes of walking in, she challenged me on something. I don't even remember the exact issue now. What I remember is the feeling. It was a test, and it didn't sit well. The room went quiet, deafeningly quiet. Was I going to stand up to her, or would I just give in and smooth it over? I paused, turned to my sons, and said as calmly as I could, "Okay, sorry guys, change of plans. We're not staying here this weekend." I invented a quick excuse that Adele had to work or something had come up, because I didn't want to see them worrying that the relationship was already breaking. We had been in her house for about maybe 10 minutes, and then we drove an hour and a half back home. Over the weekend, on the phone, Adele told me she was shocked that I left, but she also said she appreciated that I stood up for myself, and that I wasn't going to just accept the attitude she was giving me. That conversation was one of our really first honest talks about the baggage we both were carrying. And it wasn't the last test. Over time, it became a pattern, new ways of pushing, poking, and seeing if I'd crack. Eventually, after a lot of gentle prodding from me, she admitted what was going on. She said, "You seem too good to be true. I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop." She was waiting for something to happen or something to surface about me that would be awful enough that she'd have to end it. When you've been hurt a lot, that kind of fear feels like protection. If you've ever found yourself waiting for the other shoe to drop with someone good, you're not alone. Our nervous systems get really good at scanning for danger, even when what's in front of us is actually safe or kind or loving. All of this finally came to a head. One day, after yet another round of testing, I'd had enough. A close friend had given me a set of coasters after my first marriage ended. One of them had a simple phrase, "Love like you'll never get hurt." That coaster had been sitting in our living room right in front of Adele for weeks. I picked it up, quietly read the words, and set it down on the table between us. We sat there in silence, and for anyone who knows me, you'll understand how big it is for me to stay quiet for minutes at a time. I finally said something like, "You've been building a wall around your heart, one brick at a time. And from now on, for every brick you put in that wall, I am going to rip out 3. And then I told her, "You are not going to destroy the love that's growing between us. I will not sit by and let that happen. I am so deeply in love with you. You are my soulmate. We are lucky to have found each other. Nothing, including your fear, is going to stop our love from growing. Nothing will stop us from being together for the rest of our lives." Message delivered. That night, we had a long, raw conversation about the fears she was holding on to and how we could face them together. It was the moment the idea of falling in love versus jumping into love really crystallized for me. For me, falling in love with Adele was effortless. Gravity was just pulling me deeper. For her, there was so much fear and past pain that she couldn't simply keep falling. To go further, she would eventually have to jump, to take a leap of faith. And I knew my job was to convince her that if she jumped, I would be there to catch her and keep her safe and never let her go. It didn't change overnight. It took months of very deliberate actions and constant reassurance that I wasn't going anywhere, that I wasn't going to let her get hurt, that when the time came, I would catch her and hold her. It was fascinating shared experience, full of starts and stops, hesitations on both sides. It wasn't gradual or quick. It was both. Some fears we learned to gently move past, others we had to unpack piece by piece in long, heartfelt conversations where they came from. Slowly, step by step, we got to a place where she was as deeply in love with me as I was with her. And even though I'm the one telling this story, I want to be very clear. This was us working through this challenge together, figuring out a solution and then making it happen. I think that's one of the secret powers you get as soulmates. You don't just fall in love, you learn how to hold it. Looking back, I see how easy it would have been for fear to win if I had taken her tests personally, if she had believed her fear more than my actions, if either of us had decided that too good to be true meant walk away now, Instead, we treated fear as something we could face together. Falling in love can happen almost by accident. Jumping into love, trusting it, committing to it, loving like you'll never get hurt. If any part of this feels familiar, maybe you're the one who tests or the one being tested. You're welcome to share a line in the comments. It could be as simple as, I've been waiting for the other shoe, or I know what it's like to love someone who's scared. And if you'd like to keep walking through this story with me, you can subscribe so you don't miss next episodes of My Soulmate Named Adele. In the next episode, we'll move from testing to trusting. We'll talk about what it looked like when Adele finally started to believe I would catch her, and how our love began to weave into our kids' lives, our routines, and our everyday moments. That's where we'll go next.